Thank you, Blue Eagle, for that beautiful ceremony, and thank you for sharing your traditions with us. So I wanted to know a little bit more about how you started in your becoming a shaman. Like, what was your journey like into becoming a shaman?
Well, it started really young, since there was no teacher in my direct environment. It was the disease, it was a suffering that would throw me out of my body, so I would experience that there was difference between, my body and my soul. I could float above my body when it was just too painful to be in the body. And I also, since I was not much in contact with other children, I spent a lot of time in the hospitals. Well, one of the activities that really was a great solace was praying. And then I got visitors. And so that's the beginning of the path. But really understanding what the path was, it was when I connected with the elders, when I was able to get first-hand teachings with them. And then I also understood the differences that exist between what I call initiatory shamanism and hardcore shamanism, which is two different approaches. The hardcore shamanism is the one that is more practiced by all the nomadic tribes, and the initiatory shamanism by all those tribes that practice agriculture and had what we call the temple builders, that had permanent structures. The mounds of the Cherokee, the kivas of the Hopi, the pyramids of the Maya people, the permanent structures, that they had a different kind of approach, but it all comes to the same place, of course, yes. Mm.
So it's a shame to hear that you were very sick as a child, but you mentioned that this was a time when you had visits from the ancestors. Is that what that happened?
No, it was more spirits. Yeah.
Okay.
The ancestors came to me when I was 17.
Okay.
Actually, the day I left the house, the home, when I went away from my parents to go study at University Laval in Quebec City, that first night when I was away from home, that's when the ancestors came to me and told me who I was and what I had to do.
Oh, wow. Can you share a little bit about what they said exactly? Or?
Well, actually, they told me that I was from Native ancestry because it had never been spoken in the house.
Okay.
None of the family ever spoke of our ancestry. We have actually 4 different Native ancestors, and it was never spoken of. So I had no idea. And just telling me that in the evening, everything that I had experienced from my childhood became clear. Now I understood the world I was in.
Okay.
So everything, it was like an initiation, it was like rite of passage. I understood who I was and where I needed to go. In that, when I woke that morning, everything was clear. Mm.
That's really fascinating.
And they continued talking to me from that day on.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. And when they talk to you, do you hear it in your mind, or do you actually hear like an audible?
I wouldn't be able to describe it. Okay. No.
It's a knowing, I guess, right?
It's not a voice. I wouldn't be able to describe it, but it's like intuition. Something you know, and you know it's coming from an ancestor. It would be difficult to express. Yeah.
So how is Métis healing techniques different from other traditions?
Every single nation on planet Earth has their ways. It's just, there's a lot of similarities, between the different. For example, all nations throughout the world have a hands-on healing technique. What the Christian people call laying on of hands, what the Reiki people do. Every single nation has that, but the way of doing it is different from one nation to the other. There are basic things that are common to everybody, but just the way you do it, it's like the different traditional costumes that the people have. It represents the land where they live. It's different from it, but what underlies that is the same. Like all indigenous people from every continent honor the ancestors, live in communities, share everything together, have talking circles. There are things that are unique to all, and they all practice shamanism. There is not a single indigenous nation in the world that doesn't practice shamanism. But every single form of shamanism is different. It depends on the country, it depends on the land, it depends on the nation. Like I worked a lot with the Mongolian shamans. I love these people because half of the population over there still lives traditionally as nomadic herders, as they've always lived. And so their shamanism is true and it's real and it's powerful, and it's very refreshing to work with real shamans, you know, because there's a lot of new age stuff today, and people from follow 2 weekends and they declare themselves shamans. You know, this takes years and years and years of practice, and you know, they have to, those Mongolian shamans, they have to make what they call their armor, their suit. You know, it's different for every person. What's common to all of them is that they have something hanging in front of their face, because what they do is that they incorporate their ancestors. And they can have several ancestors, but it's always in their family lineage. It can go all, because for example, one of the shamans that wanted to know me, his ancestor wanted to know me because he saw that some of my ancestors were warriors. And he was a general under Genghis Khan. So he was a very powerful warrior. He wanted to meet my family. So that was an incredible event that we had together when we did that, when they met. When he met with my, that was.
It must have been a burst of energy. It must have been very, very intense and all that.
Well, you know, he becomes, that's their way. They become their ancestor.
Okay.
So he started drinking and smoking and talking loud and dancing, and he was not the same person, you know, he was this ancestor. And then, so then he says, you want to meet my ancestors? So then the two ancestors that are always with me, they appeared, but behind them, 13 warriors on their horses with their coup stick appeared. And when he saw that, he called his army, and you saw the whole steppe, thousands of Mongolian warriors on their horses that appeared, like that.
That's incredible! Wow.
And then we started sharing. Then we started talking, and it was.
That's impressive.
And then at the end, this is where we see the real power of the shamanism, is that his ancestor says, the land needs rain. Sing 4 songs to call the rain. So I sang 4 songs, and I hadn't finished the 4 songs, that the whole horizon to the west was black with clouds. We just had time to get to the inn where we were staying, and it was all evening, heavy rains and thunder and lightning, and
that is really.
That's
something.
what I like about the Mongolian shamanism. It's true shamanism. It's powerful, you know. It's I love working with those people.
That's great. That's amazing. Wow, that's impressive. So, in your ceremony, you were singing a song. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you were
That's
singing?
the ancestors chant. The ancestors chant is there to call our ancestors. Every time I do a teaching, that's what I start with. I don't always do the whole ceremony, but I always do the offerings and calling with the chant, the ancestors. That's something that's very important, connecting with our ancestors. That's part of every single indigenous nation throughout the whole planet. And that's something that people have forgotten, that energy is still alive, that energy is still there. We can connect, and it's great power and great inspiration and great guidance, and it gives many, many things. So it's, that's the ancestors chant, calling them. The words is He Hungoa, which means the land of pure form. The land where we go between lives.
Okay.
Spirit world.
The spirit world, that's nice. And I also noticed you were using different crystals, and you were, I guess, manipulating the crystals. Did you tell us a little bit more about the crystal work?
Nope.
No? Okay. That's for a sacred ceremony.
That's for training. People need to train.
I understand.
Yes.
I understand.
In our tradition, in some of the native traditions, people would train for many, many years before they would touch a crystal.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. There's certain crystals that are used with certain ceremonies.
With any crystal,
Okay.
they would train because the crystal isn't what's doing the work. It's the person holding the crystal. So they have to be able to control their thoughts, control their emotions, control the energies. That needs training.
We were just talking a moment ago about how some people do a 2-day workshop and then they think that they're shamans. I mean, I guess it is a bit disingenuous, but do you feel that people are at least trying? They're trying to understand. Like, how do you feel? Because as we move forward, we have a lot of young people coming up now wanting to learn these types of practices. Maybe a 2-day workshop is not going to work because, like you said, it needs a lot of years. What would you recommend to people who really want to seriously take this?
Training. You got to find a good teacher. You got to test the teacher. You got to make sure that it's a good teacher. You know, take time to evaluate. Test. Always test. You know, one of the things I say in the first, I have a training. It's a 4-year training to train what I call shamanic practitioners. And the first workshop, the first thing I say is, don't believe a word I say. Test everything, you know. And so I say that, and then we do the opening ceremony. I ask them to look at the energy in the room, how they feel to the group, and to do the same thing after the ceremony. Is it working? You know, it has to be real. And so, always test the teacher, you know, learn about them, and then trust the teacher, walk with them, serve them. You know, you've got to. That's something that's missing today's world, where they want to equalize everybody. You know, if you look at the Tibetan Buddhism, for example, the veneration they have for their teachers, you know, it's everything. You know, the path to enlightenment goes through the teacher, and the same thing with the gurus in India. You know, there's veneration, there's devotion, because that's the path to the lineage. You know, and we had the same thing here with our elders. We would honor our elders. They had a special place. We would listen to them. There was a lot of respect. That's missing today, and that's the important thing. You need to choose carefully, and then, you know, train. It takes time. It's a path. You know, we're on a path to becoming creators of worlds. You know, this body is only temporary. You know, and having a human body on Earth, you come a few hundred, a few thousand times, you know, to learn. But at some point, when you've mastered it all, you no longer need a body. You become light. You become like the angels, you know. And then you move on to, it's never finished. You're never finished. You're always learning for eternity. But the path, you know, is really finding a good teacher and honoring them with devotion, and helping them, and learning from them, and taking time. You know, it's a life path.
It's beautiful. Thank you. those in the audience who want to learn more, what kind of teachings do you offer?
Oh, I have a number of different workshops that I offer. I mentioned already the 4-year training. That needs a lot of organization, and right now there's no organization for that, but I've given it twice, and I will the next course I want to give in Alberta in English, because I've given it twice in French. So I want to reach the English population now. I also give a 3-weekend training in crystal healing. I give 1 weekend on music therapy, which is a part of all Native traditions also. And I'm a trained musician, so I know a lot about that, and that's something everybody could use very easily. You know, everybody has a voice, everybody can do that. It's just learning the basic principles, and the weekend we have enough to pass on that information. And there's different levels of training to come to that. You know, sometimes I give just an initiation for a weekend on shamanism, just so people get an understanding of what it is and what the path is before we go to formal training. So that's the main workshops that I offer.
That's great. Well, thank you so much again, Blue Eagle, for helping us understand more about your ceremony and the work that you do. I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. And we also want to say thank you as well to the Centre de Lettres here in Lac-Beauport, Quebec. They were very gracious in offering us to work in this yurt today. So that was very great. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Take care.
And I want to give you guys this.
Oh, thank you.
So you have the 7 perfumes?
Thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you so much. Can I hug you or I'm not?
Oh, of course.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity, and
You're welcome.
I'm so happy to work with you.